Hi, what I want to show you today is how you unwrap a UVW on an object you made, how you export it into Photoshop, edit it, import it back into the 3ds Max software, and then at the end save it as a finishly textured object and open it up in Unity, ready for you to use in your game. I've had a lot of hassle searching around on the internet and getting my head around the UV unwrapping, so this is just a straight through tutorial that will help you get started. So we open up a file in Max. Press G to remove the grid, and here you can see the model. What we want to paint on today for this example is the hull, or the selected part. So with the hull selected, you go up to the modifier list and you scroll all the way down to the bottom and select Unwrap UVW. When you press this button, it ends up in the stack here. And with Unwrap UVW selected, you press Open UV Editor. And if we maximize this window, you can see that it's just a complete mess. You don't know what anything is. You try to select it, just a bunch of dots. What you have to do is go down here, select polygon, press it. And then you select all the lines, make sure everything is read out, and you press mapping and normal mapping. And my hull is modeled such that back and front is the same as left and right. This is a setting you could adjust according to how you model your model, but I'm going to keep it as it is. So I press OK, and there you have it. A lot of lines, and this is what we're going to export. So we press Tools, Render UVW Template, and this is the size of the image or document that you're gonna have to work with. So I put up the size of it up to 4096 and 4096, and then press Render UV Template. Now it actually vanished, so it's here. So in the Render UVW settings, you just press this floppy drive icon up here to save, and we call it tutorial in this case. And we go down here, save it as PNG for the transparency options, and then just press save and leave it as it is, but make sure alpha channel is activated. So seems like nothing has happened, but it's saved in that folder. So let's open up Photoshop. So we go File, Open, and scroll through to your directory. I have the tutorial here. That's the file, and I want to open it, and here it is. As you can see, it's still just a bunch of white lines. Maybe you can see it. So I open up a new layer, drag it down, go to the paint bucket or press G, and fill the background with some kind of color. There it comes. So what I want to do here is, that's the layer. So if you control and click that, you can see all the lines and everything in the selection. What we want to do is grab the magic wand. If it's not there, just hold and press and select it. And you have to be on, in this example, layer 0, and press outside of the model. Now you have the outside selected, but we want the inside selected. So we'll press Shift, Control, and I to invert the selection. There we go. And open up a new layer above and go straight over to the paint bucket and fill it with some kind of color. So now we know that this is the area that we can paint on. And the blue layer, layer 2 here, that's what you can use to create the boundaries for your brushes and everything, so you don't paint on the outside. It doesn't matter, but it looks prettier. So you press Control and on the image to select it if you want. But we have to make a new layer for our project. So let's say on this layer we're gonna paint with a brush, and the brush is gonna look a bit grungy, and we want it to be in yellow color, Swedish kind of. And we kind of paint a bit around, make it look roughed up. Like this. That's okay for demonstration purposes. If you want to deselect it and just view it, it's Control D to deselect. And that's okay. And then I can also just press this one, because this gray area won't be visible because you've already unwrapped the UVW within the blue boundaries. So it doesn't matter if you miss, but it doesn't look as good. So you go to File, Save As, make sure you're in the same folder. And then you go down, select PNG. I've done this a couple of times, so I have a lot of files, but tutorial texture is a good thing to save it. Save it as something different. And then save. And now we can go back in 3ds Max, select the Open UV editor, and just for demonstration purposes, we can close this one. So here you have the same map that you actually draw on upon. And up in the right corner, you choose Pick Texture, Bitmap, and then you should actually find, we have to go into the right folder, which in my case was this. The same folder as you saved the file from Photoshop. So this is the Swedish boat we made. And then you press open, and there you can see it automatically maps within the UVW map. So that's the first step. Now you can close this down. You don't have to press anything, save nothing, but just make sure it's up here and you have the right to pick the right texture, and it shows up like this, so it's visible here. Close this down, press either this one or M for materials, so here, and scroll all the way down to the bottom, just to make it really simple, and drag out the material, it doesn't matter which. So there, instance is okay. And double click the text and it opens here. If you want to see a preview, you can double click the image, it's here. And on the right side at the bottom you can see maps. When you press maps, you want the diffuse color, and here you press the area where it says none, and in the window that opens you press bitmap. Double click, and you're taken into the file folder where you can find the map you created, which is here. And then you just press open. So you can see a ball here that actually is textured with the texture you made in Photoshop. And you go and make sure your hull is selected or your part is selected in 3ds Max. So in my case I have to press this and then press the part, and you go back in the material editor. If you close it, just press M, and right click the material you made, and then assign material to selection. So now we should have seen it, but it just turned gray. So we open up the material editor, and at the top you can see there's a show shaded material in viewport. It's a checkerboard with a light beside it. If you press this one, the top is going to turn red, and that's a really good sign, because when we close the window down, the boat is actually going to be textured, and it looks as though it was on the painting. So now we're going to export it out to Unity. So File, Export non-native file formats from the current 3ds Max scene, and we'll just save it on the desktop. We'll call it tutorial file. And then you have to have it here as FBX. You could have other formats, but it's a really good format to work with. So you press save. And here, what's important is that you choose triangulate, and in the embed media you have to have it checked. Just make sure that's on. You could experiment with these ones. You could put in animation if you have it. All of these things can be baked into the FBX file. So you press OK, and I get the material. That's why I have mental ray material on, which is transparent, and FBX doesn't support it, but that's okay. So that's done, exported. You open up Unity, and here's an empty file. And then right click in the assets area, import new asset, and let's say we saved it on the desktop and we called it tutorial file. Yeah. So we press on the tutorial file, import. And then we just have to wait a bit. There you can see it imported the texture. So we're on our way. I hope you learned something from this. But oh, it's a really large file, by the way. It's 100 meters long, and it imports into Unity like this. So now it's actually in the scene with the texture on, like it was modeled in Photoshop. So if you press the model up here, tutorial file, that's the boat, and open it up. In my example, it's the skrog, which in Norwegian means hull, and here you can see it has a material on it, and it has a map, it has everything. But what you can do, if you think it's too dull, you can drag the metallic up, for example, and have it a bit more shiny. You could adjust it with smoothness. You can see on the right window that it gets smoother and shiny and really, really flat. And you can mess around with these settings. But what you might want to do is open the file up in, for example, a free software called Crazy Bump, and create normal maps, occlusion maps, to make the hull stand out a bit more. But that's a whole different tutorial. So I'll just move my camera so the camera can look at the hull. I will just move it a bit up, and there you go. And when we press play, the boat will be hanging in the open world, looking quite good. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions, just mention them in the comments. And I really hope this helped you kind of, not to understand, but at least be able to do it without all the hassle that the other tutorials made us go through. Bye!